O-Level Biology 5090, Chapter 16, Development of Organisms and Continuity of Life, Part 2, Asexual and Sexual Reproduction, Sexual Reproduction in Plants. We will discuss these two topics. Asexual reproduction. A, without sex. It means in this type of reproduction, there is no need of fusion of gametes. Only a single parent is required. And the offsprings which are produced as a result of asexual reproduction, they will be identical with one another. Not only physically identical, but also genetically, they will be identical with one another, and they will be the exact copies of their parents. They will be just like their parents. And the other examples of asexual reproduction can be given: the fission, budding, regeneration, fragmentation, vegetative propagation, spore formation, fission in which one organism is divided into two, budding in which a bud is appeared on the body of the organism, and if separated, it can be grown into a new offspring, and regeneration, the lost parts are regenerated in different types of organisms. Fragmentation, the different organisms have their bodies just like the fragments. If one of the fragment is separated from the other body, then that fragment will be grown into a new offspring or new organism. And vegetative propagation, the you can say growth from the vegetative parts of the plants, as for example from the stem. Cuttings can be grown in this way. And the spore formation, from the spores, a new offsprings can be reproduced. So these are the different examples of asexual reproduction. Now, what is sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction in which the fusion of male gamete, with the female gamete takes place. So they will fuse together, fusion. There will be the formation of zygote, and zygote after further divisions will change into embryo. So in this way, the sexual reproduction needs both male and female gametes. The male gametes has single set of chromosomes or one set of chromosomes, that is 23 chromosomes, and female gametes also have 23 chromosomes or one set of chromosomes. When zygote is formed, zygote will have 46 or complete set of chromosomes. So in this way, the sexual reproduction is a complex life cycle in which the offsprings which are produced as a result of sexual reproduction, they will be different from their parents. They will have the variations which are produced during the process of sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction takes place in both animals and plants. In plants, flowers are the reproductive parts. So male and female, both types of reproductive parts are grown in the flowers. Anther and filament, they are called as stamen. So stamen are the male parts of the plant, and carpel is the female, which consists of stigma, style, and ovary. So pollen grains are produced in the anthers, and ovules are produced in the ovary of the female. So the fusion of these both gametes is called as fertilization, and as a result of fertilization, zygote is formed. And same is the case in the human beings. Egg, which has 23 chromosomes. Male sperm also has 23 chromosomes. Fertilization occurs, fusion of these gametes take place, formation of zygote is there, which has 46 number of chromosomes. And after many divisions, this zygote is changed into an embryo, and embryo will be the future baby of the human beings. Now, in the next slide, we will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the sexual and asexual reproduction. First of all, the advantages of the sexual reproduction are can adopt easier to environmental changes. So they are sexually reproduced, increased genetic variations within a species. It is true because during the meiosis takes place in the gametes, and as a result of gametes and or meiosis, the variations are originated. So you can say the meiosis is the source of variations. Allow for diversity and evolution of a species due to genetic variations. They will be diverse from many different species of the organisms, and but there are some disadvantages of this sexual reproduction as well. Takes longer to reproduce offsprings. There is a specific time for each species of the organisms, which will be taken to reproduce or to give birth to a offspring. More things can go wrong. Mutations can occur as a result of sexual reproductions and must procreate a mate to reproduce. Single parent is unable to reproduce, so a mate is always required, or male and female, both parents is required for the sexual reproduction. Now, asexual reproduction, the advantages are only need one parent to reproduce. Single parent is required, requires less energy to reproduce. Only single parent is there, no sexual fusion of the gametes, so there is less energy is required for this purpose. Can reproduce quickly, so they are reproduced by asexually by different means, so they can reproduce fastly or quickly. And disadvantages of asexual reproduction are genetically similar and less able to survive environmental changes. They don't have genetic variability. Due to less genetic variability, in any case, any problem, any issue in the environmental temperature or other variables, the organisms will not survive. Can be easily wiped out by the disease. If one person is getting disease, the other will also suffer with that disease, and which can lead to their, you can say, um, they will not be available on the earth. In simple words, I would like to say, can result in overcrowding of a habitat. Due to asexual reproduction, overcrowding can occur because from one plant, if we are making use of cuttings, we are making cuttings and we want to grow them. So with one plant, we can make many cuttings. So in this way, with one plant can have with these cuttings more than 10 to 12 new plants. So in this way, overcrowding can occur. Due to overcrowding, there will be the competition between them to get light and space and water as well. Now, sexual reproduction in plants. And here on screen, you can see the basic flower structure or a flower, which is insect pollinated flower. This is insect pollinated flower. How can we come to know that this is insect pollinated flower? Because it has colorful petals. It has colorful petals, and colorful petals will attract the insects for pollination. So we will discuss the different parts. First of all, we will start from the um, pedicel is an in inflorescence. You can say this is the flower stalk. Receptacle, you can say the little wider than the stalk, and then on which the ovary is arranged. Then the sepals collectively called as calyx, and calyx Then corolla. These are the petals. All petals are collectively called as corolla. So after the petals, you can say in the center there is a female part which is called as carpel, and carpel, all carpels are collectively called as gynoecium, and each carpel consists of the upper part, tip is called as stigma, and neck-like portion is called as style, and lowermost part which is little bit swollen, that is called as ovary, and ovary contain ovules. And then nectar glands are also present at the base of this ovary. And then then the male parts are there. They stamens are called as male part, and collectively all stamens are called as androecium, and each stamen consists of anther and filament. Anther contains the pollen grains. Pollen grains, which are the male gametes. Male gametes. So these are the different parts of insect pollinated flower. And in the next slide, we will discuss the function of all these parts of the insect pollinated flower. Now, first of all, we will start from the pedicel, stem that supports a single flower and transports food and water. So the function of pedicel is this. And then the sepals. Sepals protects flower before it opens. So it protects the flower buds. And then the petals, which are very colorful and attracts the insects for pollination. Then the male part, which contains stamens, which consist of anther, which contain pollens, and filament, which supports the anther. So these are the male gametes. It contains male gametes, and then in the center, there's a stigma, sticky to capture the pollen grains for pollination. And neck-like structure, you can say, which is a passage of the pollen grains to reach to the ovary. And ovary contain ovules, which are the female gametes. Okay, so in this way, these are the different parts and their functions of insect pollinated flower. Now we will discuss about the wind pollinated flowers. And in this regards, we will discuss only the anthers and stigmas in wind pollinated flowers. And you know, the anthers are the male part and stigmas are the female part. So the anthers and stigmas, they will be different as they were present in the insect pollinated flowers. As in wind pollinated flowers, there is no insects are attracted towards them because there no nectar glands are present. There is no colorful patterns. So due to this reason, these flowers are pollinated by the process of wind, by the help of wind. So wind take them away from the parent plants, and in this way the pollination can take place. So first of all, we will discuss about the anthers. So anthers, they are exposed to the wind so that pollen grains can easily be blown away because they have to go to the other plants with the help of wind. So they are totally exposed to the wind as it will be possible for the wind to take them away with them, with it. And then stigmas, and on the other hand, you can say stigmas are feathery to capture the pollen grains. So these stigmas, which are on which the pollen grains should land. But here in this case, as the pollen grains are coming with the air, they are present in the air on the wind. So the stigmas are feathery to catch or to capture the pollen grains which are present in the wind. So the pollen grains are very small and light as they have to pollinate or they have to move by the wind. So there is possibility for the wastage of these pollen grains, as they can be wasted because they have to reach to far off places, and during their journey they can be wasted on the way. So they are small and light in color. It will help them to float into the air easily. And secondly, they grow in large number. And then no scent or nectar glands are present, already told you. So there is no attraction for insects to pollinate them. Again, petals are small and green. There are no attractive colors for the insects. So the process of pollination will take place with the help of wind. So they are modified. They have modified anthers and stigmas. Now we can compare the insect pollinated and wind pollinated flowers. So the insect pollinated flowers are brightly colored petals, whereas the wind pollinated flowers have small dull colored petals. Flowers have scent or fragrance, whereas the wind pollinated flowers do not have any fragrance because the nectar glands are not present in them. Filament is strong and is inside the flower. There is no need to expose into the air because insects will reach to them. Filament is thin and hang outside the flower easily. Easily, the pollen grains are scattered into the wind or air. Pollen grains are sticky or hairy and are few in amount. So the pollen grains are sticky because they are transported by the help of insects. Pollen grains are light and numerous. They are, you can say, they are transferred with the help of wind. So chances of wastage are more as comparison in the insect pollinated flowers. So stigmas also hairy and sticky and is in the flower, whereas stigma feathery to catch pollen and hang outside the flower to capture the insects, to capture the pollen grains. So the stigmas are feathery. Now the next, how do the pollinations take place and what is pollination? First of all, the pollination is the transfer of pollen grains. Transfer of pollen grains, that is the pollen grains are there in this anther. So the transfer of this pollen grain to the stigma. So transfer of pollen grains to the stigma is called as pollination. Or this transfer can be on the same flower of the or the another flower of the same plant or another plant of the same species. So this is simply the pollination, which is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Now in the next slide, we will discuss the two types of pollination, which is self-pollination. Self-pollination is this when pollen grains are transferred, when pollen grains are transferred. So the pollen grains from the anther, they are transferred to the stigma of the same plant or same flower or one flower to another flower of the same plant. So this is called as self-pollination. The second method of pollination is called as self-pollination, in which the pollen grains are transferred from one flower to another flower of the same species. The plants can be different. In this case, the plants will be different and the pollen grains will be transferred from one plant to the another plant of the same species. So this will be called as the cross pollination. So in this way, the variations will originate. Now the advantages and disadvantages of the self-pollination are, first of all, advantages. Pollination is sure. Pollination will occur as they have to transfer to the same plant. Parental characteristics are preserved, so there will be the same characteristics as which will appear in the offsprings. Fewer pollen grains are needed. They have to reach very close. So same flower is there. Flowers are not large, showy, scented, or have nectar. It depends on different species. And disadvantages are offsprings get weaker, no variations. Due to less variations, they will become weaker. New variations will not possible as they are not pollinating the other flowers. So they are pollinating the same flower. So they will become weak and weaker strains cannot eliminate. So in this way, they their species will become very weak. Now, the advantages and disadvantages of cross pollination are, first of all, the advantages are healthier offsprings, new varieties can be produced as pollination occur between two flowers of different plants. So variations will occur. Seeds are abundant and good quality as they have to move from one plant to the other. So more pollen grains are required. So in this way, they should be greater in number. So the disadvantages of cross pollination can be pollination is not always sure. Sometimes pollination does not occur. If physical or environmental conditions are not suitable, then there will be no pollination. Lot of pollen is produced and wasted. So on the way, many of the pollen grains are wasted. Flowers may have to be large, slow, showy, scented, and have nectar. Flowers may have to be large. They have to be large. They have to be showy or scented, have nectar. So nectar glands should be present in there. That will be the reason that if they are not, if these nectar glands or other things are not there, so the process will not take place. Now, after pollination, fertilization will take place because uh, as a result of pollen grains, plus ovules, fertilization will occur and zygote will take place. Fertilization, zygote. So fusion of male gamete with the female gamete is called as fertilization. As a result of fertilization, zygote is formed. Now the pollen grains, whether they are transferred with the help of insects or with the help of wind, they will reach at the stigma. Already told you that stigma is sticky. So for these pollen grains will have two nuclei in them. One is called as generative nucleus and other is pollen tube or vegetative nucleus. So when they will reach at the stigma will have some enzymes which will start secreting and due to which these vegetative will start making the pollen tube. So pollen tube will start and it will during its you can say travel it will reach or it will enter through micropyle into the ovary or ovule and then you can say after making the pollen tube this vegetative nucleus will disintegrate, only generative nucleus will be there. So what will happen with this generative nucleus? This generative nucleus will divide on its way towards the ovary will divide into two. It will divide into two when during its travel it will reach to the ovary. One of them will fuse with the egg. So egg and male generative nucleus, they will fuse together to will give rise the zygote, and this process is called as fertilization. When now I will just would like to read all these. I have told you the whole process of fertilization and how polytube is manufactured and how these generative nuclei they move towards the ovary, but I would like to read this as well. When a pollen grain lands on the surface of the, it produces a tube, which is called as pollen tube. Inside of the tip of the tube contains the male cells of the which are generative nuclei. These tubes grow down to the style to reach the ovules in the ovary. Inside each ovule is an egg cell. So these egg cell and this generative nucleus, they will fuse together to give rise to the zygote. And this zygote, after the formation of zygote, there will be the simple cell division and there will be the formation of embryo. Embryo is actually the seed. Now in the next slide, we will discuss the uh, formation of fruit from the flower. After the fertilization, the ovary will grow bigger until it becomes a fruit. So how it will happen? The flower after fertilization. So there will be the changes in the after the fertilization. The petals will wither, ovary begins to swell, it will become large, petals will drop off, and as a result of their drop off, the seeds will develop inside the fruit, and ovary wall will change into fruit, and this fruit contains the embryo or seeds, which are and seeds are called as dormant embryos. Now, after the formation of seed, fruit is formed, or which is formed from the ovary wall. And now in this slide, we will discuss the structure of that seed, which is formed as a result of fertilization. So here you can see a dicotyledonous seed, and this is the complete seed, which is chickpea, chickpea or gram seed. So here you can say the outer covering or is called as seed coat or seed coat or testa. It is called as seed coat or testa. And hilum. Hilum is that part of the on the seed with which it is attached with the pod. This is a pod and the seeds are attached with the pod. So they at the point with which they are attached with the seed, pod is called as hilum. Now, if we peel off the seed coat of any seed, we can have different parts. First of all, you can say this part, which is swollen part of the seed, is called as cotyledon, and cotyledon contains nutrients and nutrients plus enzymes for the uh, growth of or germination of these seeds. Plumule, which will be changed into shoot, future shoot you can say, and radicle is that part of the seed which is changed into root, or which germinates into root. So it was all about the part 2, students. Please like, share and subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching.